Foodinati UK, and this week is a feast for heavy metal lovers. We have My Dying Bride, we're going for a curry in Bradford, and then after that we have the Infernal Sea, who will be coming here to Cult Wing, and we'll be chatting all about their new album. Keep it locked. Hello and welcome to a special edition of Foodinati UK. Now, it's occurred to me we've done all kinds of spicy food, but we've never done curry. So here we are in Bradford, what I regard as the home of curry. And I'm here with Aaron from My Dying Bride.
Hello.
And his daughter.
Nate.
And Nate. And this is a special episode because Nate's having the first curry, Bradford curry. And this was a special rite of passage I did at the International, not too far away from here, many moons ago, and I went with two old heavy metalers as well. So how are we all? Good?
We're very well, thank you.
Excellent,
Really
excellent.
well, doing well.
This is a bit of a full circle moment for me because, like I say, I once, way back in the midst of time, went for my first ever curry in Bradford, and it was with some like heavy metal-y types.
Yeah.
And you said to me on the phone that in the early days of My Dying Bride, you used to come here after band practice?
Well, there was an amazing rock club up there called the Frog and Toad.
Right.
It's now a roundabout. And most Friday nights and Saturday nights, when it closed at 2 a.m, these places are still open.
Absolutely.
Into the early hours. And we'd descend on them, all of them around here, because there's quite a lot in this area. And basically everybody who was at the Frog and Toad, you'd see them in every single restaurant. The Kashmir, and there was La Luna and Moonlight, which are owned by the same people, and gosh, I can't remember half the other names. There were so many of them. Then the Frog and Toad closed down, and there was a bit of a hiatus for proper rock nightclubs. There was one called Shaved Night Scene, which opened on the other side of Bradford. But that was nowhere near curry houses, and it was it wasn't the same, you know.
Yeah.
And then Rio's opened round there.
God bless her.
Yeah, I know. And that was great. We played there. We've seen so many bands there. It was amazing. And then just round the corner was another curry restaurant. I can't remember the name of that one. But again, when the doors closed at Rio's, everyone descended. And it was like 4 a.m. and the place is packed.
Awesome, yeah.
Everybody's just, the banter was just, no sort of raucous, drunken, violent, nothing like that. Which,
very respectful.
Yeah, if you were a passerby, you'd see this restaurant at 4 a.m. filled with heavy metal lunatics. You would steer well clear. But everybody was absolutely sound as a pound. They all like the same kind of thing. Same music, the same food, and it was good banter.
I remember when I first, came across My Dying Bride, I was working at Nail Records in Leeds with Judy Weir, who was one of our people that worked there. There was a few of us, and My Dying Bride records started coming in. A friend of mine, before that, my notion of what I thought was heavy was generally fast music, like Obituary or Entombed or bands like that, and it was such a revelation to be going slow, but not in the Sabbath tribute sort of a way, which I'd heard before, like bands like Pentagram or whatever. But the way you were doing it was like taking death metal slower and just faster and more it seemed to sound like Bradford, if that makes sense. I've had this conversation with a couple of musicians where do you think the surroundings influenced the music? And I do think in the case of the Bradford scene, I don't know if it's just because I was going to Bradford quite a lot, so I just associated it with that. But it just seemed very vast, like the countryside that's around.
Well, I draw my influences from the countryside. And I like being in the north of England because I only have to drive 10 minutes and there's glorious hills and forests and lakes. Thank you. But I know Nick from PL.
Yeah.
His particular doom and gloom comes from the urban dereliction around here.
Absolutely.
And I see that, but I just prefer the greenery, the romance of sitting by a lake.
That's played into beautifully with the violin parts and stuff like that, which always give it a sort of countryside-y kind of outdoorsy feel.
And also you've got to remember that not only was the Frog and Toad a very influential club, everybody went. There were coach trips from around the UK that would arrive. And it wasn't really a venue, though Paradise Lost did play there and a couple of other bands. It didn't really have a stage. They'd knock up, it'd be the overturned crates
Sure.
with a bit of plywood on top.
Yeah.
It was really, a rough-looking affair. Then it closed, and when Rio's opened, that's a proper venue.
Yes.
And we were lucky. In fact, we also had the Queen's Hall,
Yeah.
which had the ballroom upstairs where the bigger bands played,
Yeah.
and then the cellar bar where we played.
Yeah.
And so that allowed upcoming young bands with no money to perform live.
Awesome.
What is really difficult for a lot of bands, they can't find venues to play, or they can't afford to play in the venues. In their town.
Absolutely. I remember those days.
We could afford to play. We'd get together with Anathema
Would you like some water?
and Cathedral. And
Anathema, there's another band for
Yeah.
that time, yeah.
whoever, and we'd just say, look, in 3 weeks' time, and this is all before the internet. This was
Yes.
telephone calls. And,
Absolutely.
and this is, so in 3 weeks' time, on whatever date, we've hired the Queen's Hall cellar bar.
Yeah.
Do you want to come along?
Yeah.
So we've hired the PA and the lights, and then you charge something like £2 on the door,
Yeah.
and you make your money from t-shirt sales.
Yeah.
And we did it loads of times with loads of bands. It was really successful. And over time, we obviously we had some sort of elevation to our fame.
Yeah.
And Morbid Angel played upstairs, and I can't remember who was supposed to support them, but they pulled out. But the venue owner knew about us and rang us up and said, "Can you support Morbid Angel tonight?" And we were like, "Yeah," because we just rehearsed the day before. So we were like, "Yeah, we can do that."
It's slick.
So it was absolutely brilliant. And the beauty of having both the Queen's Hall up and down venue and Rio's, every band that did a tour came through Bradford.
They did. It was brilliant in the early 90s. It was
We
fabulous.
got exposed to tons and tons of music.
Yeah.
And when you see that, that's when you start to think, I want to be part of this. Not just stood in the crowd, I want to be on stage.
Yeah. So my introduction record to my down vibe was Eternal Is the Swans. Adored that record, and to be honest, someone like me, I have pretty short attention span at the best of times, so that album taught me how to sit down and actually listen to a record, and of course I had it on vinyl, so there was no skipping about or anything like that. If it was 12 minutes long, I was listening to it. You know, say me, I think it's 12 minutes, isn't it?
Something like that,
Yeah. Thank you ever so much. Beautiful. Thank you. And yeah, so this was a different kind of metal to what I was used to. And it just required me to sit still and listen to it, actually listen to it, which was
It's hard
big.
for all young people.
Not many bands could do that to me, so that was impressive in itself. I liked Paradise Lost. I had the Gothic album.
Yeah.
That was my introduction to them, was the Gothic album. After I listened to Eternal Is the Swans, it was, I went through the earlier stuff as well, because you had,
We started with an EP, Symphonia Infernus.
that's the one.
Well, if you go right back, we did one demo tape, which a lot of kids today will be like, a tape? What?
That's right.
That cassette, we sent it to all the fanzines. That's what you did back then. And we sent it to the record labels. Again, you know, some people today complain that it's really difficult to do these things. Back then, it was an envelope with a stamp on it and a handwritten address.
Absolutely, tape trading.
And you'd got that address from the back of a magazine where all the contact details were.
Absolutely, pen pals and all that.
Yeah, and I would go to the post office with 10 envelopes every day sending the stuff off. And you could take out a little advert in the back of certain magazines. So I think we did 1,000 demo tapes. We must have given 200 away to record labels, magazines, fanzines, all the rest of it, and the tape trading world. And the rest of them we actually sold, which was incredible.
Yeah.
That drew the attention of Peaceville Records and Listenable Records. And obviously because Listenable weren't an entity, and Peaceville were, they'd had so many great bands we liked.
Yeah.
We were obviously going to go with Peaceville anyway. So off we went, we signed to Peaceville, and we started off with Symphonia Infernus EP, which was a brave thing, you know, our first record that was available through a proper distribution network and available in stores worldwide. It was a 12-minute epic with Latin bits, and it was a brave thing because people could have just looked at it and gone, that's ridiculous, what a silly idea, what a rubbish band. because it was also doom and death, because we couldn't make up our minds if we were doom or death, because we liked all. And we threw some gothic influences as well, because we liked a bit of that. We could have easily shot ourselves in the foot. The doom fans could have hated us, it's too much death metal.
Yes.
The death metal fans could have hated us, it's too much doom. We somehow managed to get that balance just right.
And if you like what you see there, why not hit subscribe, hit the bell, drop us a comment, drop us a like. You know what to do. Keep it coming.
What surprises a lot of people to learn, I was in the Depeche Mode fan club for a number of years.
Depeche Mode is a band that's often...
Everyone loves them. You can go to a Depeche Mode gig and there's someone in a Battery t-shirt. It doesn't matter.
Gosh, is all over.
They have a great broad appeal. And we kind of wanted to do a little bit of that. And the beauty about doing EPs, normally on side A of an EP record, you would do your regular kind of meat and two veg. But side B was the place to experiment.
That was experimental.
So we did all sorts of stuff. The weirdest My Dying Bride stuff is on side B of all the EPs. We did a song called Le Surf Malade, and that was, gosh, I think it was just violins and me with hugely layered vocals where I'm just going, oh.
Oh, right.
And it goes on and on. It's
Some Attila Kazar sort of thing.
there were lyrics for it, but I don't sing them.
Right.
I mean, it was really unusual. And then we did something, there was something with a big electronic beat. And that was done by the guys from Drug Free America.
Oh, yeah, I remember DFA, yeah.
We asked them to remix some stuff, and they basically sampled about 5 different My Dying Bride songs. This 12-minute dance tune with all these MDB samples, and we thought it was brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
So we didn't mind a bit of that.
It was a time of great experimentation around that time, especially in what we now refer to as extreme metal. It was because you had Earache were putting out the Naive compilations, and they'd started signing off the back of Godflesh and stuff like that. There was a lot more electronic stuff coming through, so it was a very exciting time.
We kept it to the B-sides of our EPs until it got to the period where we hadn't moved from Peaceful, but somehow Music for Nations got involved.
Right.
I think they bought some shares in Peaceful.
Sure.
And without saying it, we kind of knew that they fancy something a bit more commercial. And so we sort of preempted that by doing 34.78%. That had loads more electronic stuff on it. And they loved it, and they were like, we did not expect this, but we're glad you did it, because we knew they wanted something a bit more radio friendly.
Yeah.
Because we'd done songs that are 12, 8, 9 minutes long. And although there are some lengthy songs on that album, we did aim them to be a little bit more commercial, a little bit more radio friendly, because you just don't get My Dying Bride songs played on radio. They're too long.
Well, yeah.
They're too complicated.
John Peel might have had a crack at it.
Well, maybe, yeah. And so we did something a bit more commercial, and a lot of fans hated it. It was a sort of 50-50 split with journalists. Some of them thought it was a bold move and liked it. Some of them just thought it was a madness rather than genius, and that is the end of our career. And a lot of people thought, is this the direction? Is this the new direction? Or is this a one-off blip? And it was a one-off blip because it had been sort of boiling up inside us over the years. We finally did it, but by doing it, it meant we'd done it. Now let's get back to doing what we want to do. And at that point, Calvin left. I can't remember why, but it meant Andy was stuck doing all the guitars on his own. And I said, look, well, we've done the fancy messing around stuff. Let's do proper heavy metal guitars.
Yeah.
I think the violin had gone as well. The violin might have gone a year or two before. But plenty of keys, but not in the electronic stuff, in the ambient background.
Yes.
Embellishing the music that's already written on the guitars. And so we knuckled down and we did The Light at the End of the World.
Oh,
again,
wonderful.
The fans, I mean, what a contrast between both albums. And the fans were like, thank God for that.
Yeah.
We thought you were going down the electronic route and you didn't. And it was like, well, even in all the interviews, we said we weren't going down the electronic route. It was a one-off experiment.
And a detour.
And we were getting back to it. People didn't believe it. And then we showed them that we meant what we said. Here comes the light at the end of the world. Have a bit of that, you lot.
Yeah, that's often quoted, I've noticed, amongst your fans as one of their favourites.
My Dying Bride is technical, complicated, and I really give my heart and soul to it. And we work hard for it. You know, the songs don't come easy. It's really tough. When I'm writing lyrics for My Dying Bride, it can take days because I've got to.
Well, 'cause it's prose, isn't it? It's proper.
Yeah, it's got to mean something as well, and I like the fact that people quite often will need to read between the lines to get the gist of what I'm saying.
I also like the fact that you include lyrics lots of the time as well, because it is you're. If you don't mind me saying, the way I read your lyrics, they're very classically informed. It is prose. It works standalone away from a song as a piece of prose. So I think that's always been a lovely thing about My Dying Bride.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I read a lot, and I've always been into literature. When I was at school, it's funny, you know, I was in like the top set for English literature. I read all the books. I'd happily read aloud in class. And yet I was in the lowest of the low set for maths.
Oh, I'm exactly the
My
same.
brain doesn't do numbers, it does words.
I fuzz over with numbers, which is weird for someone who works with computers so much, but computers are different. There's a different thought process going on there. But if you asked me to like work out how much money I spent this week, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Well, luckily for me, Andrew deals with that side of things because My Dying Bride have never had a manager, which surprises a lot of people.
That is a surprise.
So I try and do the visual stuff, what I consider to be the fun stuff, the stuff the fans see. So I help with the t-shirt designs, album cover designs, most of the interviews, the lyrics, that sort of thing. Well, Andrew does some of that as well, but he also deals with, like when we do get a new contract, he'll take it to Andy Farrer of Northern Music, and Andy will go through it as well with us all. And
Meat and potatoes, yeah.
And when it comes to banking, tax, Andrew, bless him, does all that. And to me, it doesn't even make sense. He will send me an email with a little bit of a breakdown, and he's already dumbed it down for me. And when I read it, I just respond with, great.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand it. We toured with Iron Maiden in 1995, and it was amazing. And word got round to Dio's crew that we were well behaved, we were professional, we didn't mess around. So we got the chance to tour with Dio in the US for 4 or 5 weeks. And though Wendy and Ronnie weren't married, they were divorced at that point. She was still managing.
They kept that going, didn't they?
Yeah, and she said, well, if you haven't got a manager, why don't you give me a chance? And we were like, all right, that would be unusual.
It would be very unusual.
Dio managing My Dying Bride. We bought a bottle of champagne and we said, let's see what happens.
go.
There was no paper, there was no signing anything. She said, let's give it a couple of years. And if it fails miserably, if one party is not happy, we'll just part ways without any, you know. It didn't even last that long because there was a break in the tour. We came back to the UK, and I think Ronnie did Alaska,
Right.
and somewhere else, and we were due to it was only a 2-week break back at home. We were due to fly back out and meet them again, and unfortunately, I think it was then Rick developed Crohn's disease.
Right.
And there was no way he could do it. Because Wendy's on the phone saying, we'll find someone else. Well, that's easy to say, but we can't find and teach someone to do the drums. Because Rick was hoping it wasn't serious and was hoping. So by the time he told us, it was like 3 days before the flight. So it's like, oh God, we can't do it. And she binned us there and then. So that caretaker manager role literally lasted 2 weeks, and then it fizzled.
I can imagine that My Dying Bride just learn it. The thing is, especially with the slow stuff, when it's that slow, you've got nothing to hide behind. You know what I mean? Because there's so much space between the notes and stuff like that.
Oh God,
you get it wrong coming back in, and the whole thing's trashed.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I really respect My Dying Bride, is because the music has got so much space. There's so little room for error. Like,
we're doing a song at the moment. Well, tonight we'll be rehearsing for Manifest.
Mm.
And we brought back the song Like a Perpetual Funeral.
Love that song.
And it's not what some people might consider a live song. It's not very, the crowd aren't going to be jumping up and down, but then they very rarely do.
Yeah.
To my dying bride anyway, so balls to it. And that is both a sparse and a rich song.
Yeah.
There are some moments when it's almost silent.
Yeah.
You're almost hanging on the edge.
That's the beautiful thing.
And then the crescendos come in, and it's you just start swaying with the music, and it's marvellous. And we played that several years ago, and as soon as I announced it, this couple in front of me started kissing. They didn't stop till the end of the song.
That was their kissing song.
That's their song, and I just thought,
fantastic.
all right.
That's a great. I'd take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Talking of space and stuff like that, I noticed you've got a gig coming up that's a bit different. In Huddersfield, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
In the Huddersfield Town Hall with a full-on organ.
It is, yeah. The full pipe organ, amazingly played by a man called David Pike.
Oh, brilliant!
That is true. So it's with the band Ard from Northumberland, and Mark Deeks, the main guy. I didn't know this till very recently. He was a choir master.
Right.
So he already has a choir. So obviously the album is filled with choir already.
Awesome.
And doomy slow guitars. And it was actually our producer, Mark Minot, who got in touch saying, would you be interested in doing some narration for the Ard gig at Huddersfield Town Hall?
That sounds very theatrical.
I was thinking, yeah, what? Tell me more. And he gave me the other Mark's details, Mark Deeks. And we chatted, and it sounded like the most amazing, weird thing ever. And the organ's gigantic.
Yeah, it's a proper historical place, isn't it?
The sound that Ard already have is gigantic. So I am guessing, I could be wrong, I'm guessing he's bringing his own choir, his own band. In fact, I know our old drummer, PL's old drummer, Jeff Singer's doing the drums.
Right.
And so there's going to be a doom band, there's going to be a choir, there's going to be a massive pipe organ.
Wow.
And in between each song, I'll be doing the story of St. Cuthbert.
Wonderful.
Narration. So it's going to be wild and interesting. And
I'm going to try and get along to that one.
Yeah.
I'm in between two festivals, but I think I'll be able to take you for that one. Right, how was your first curry? It's very nice. So we've got 2 thumbs fresh on first curry at Kashmir.
I haven't eaten a great deal. Did you have a big breakfast? Yeah. Okay. Well, you're going to knock that glass up, I know.
Yeah, I know.
Well, thank you for being on my show. And thank you to your dad, Aaron, for being on the show.
Absolutely my pleasure. I would just wish some of you guys were here to enjoy this.
And maybe you can be. Kashmir, Bradford, just up from the Photographic Museum.
And the Queen's Hall.
And the Queen's Hall. So if you're in Bradford, come here, give it a crack. That was an amazing job, Frazee. Never do me wrong, these places. Right, so we'll see you later. And once again, thank you very much.
Cheers, see you later, guys.
Next up, we meet Infernal Sea here at Cult Wing. And if you fancy finding out what their guitarist James gets up to, check out the Offset Smoke Journal on Instagram, where you can find out all his barbecue tips. Hello and welcome back, and you're with us here at Foodinati, and this is our friends the Infernal Sea are with us today. So thank you for coming, lads.
No worries,
thank you very much. Didn't recognise you there without the masks on, obviously. There we go.
How do you even know this is us? We've just sent
it
some
could be
rations
any.
in.
Yeah, could. I see the tour's going really well. You were at London last night, was it Black Heart?
Yeah, Black Heart last night.
Love that venue. It's
really good crowd. Everyone was going wild for it last night, so it's
awesome.
Nice. You know, we've been building it up slowly in London, so it's good to play a packed out show, isn't it? Really?
I heard the single this week, Apostles of Gehenna.
Yep.
Fantastic, ferocious song that is. That's really how I like my black metal. Like proper black metal, nice and frosty, serrated edges, just really primitive and nice. But like with a really, I noticed that the riffs are really sort of not, I want to say catchy, but not catchy. It's just groovy, kind of, you know. Yeah, it's fantastic. So the album's coming soon, is it?
We hope so.
Yeah.
It's all recorded and
still recording it.
No, it's all recorded.
Oh, it's done.
All done. We're just releasing singles in between.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It just made sense. We were doing this little run of dates, put out a new single. It just keeps everything exciting and fresh. You played the new song on the tour as well. It just gets a bit of hype. And you know, it just makes sense to do it. So
Brilliant. I love the artwork on the new one. Is there a special artist who's done that? Because it's fantastic looking art.
it's actually a mate of mine that I've known for a long time. He did illustration at uni, and I was actually just messaged him and just said, "Dude, can you, you know, create something based on Black Shook?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course."
It's
just
really
smashed it
striking
out.
image.
It's really cool.
It's
Yeah,
really
cool.
fantastic. I really like it. Yeah, I've been doing a bit of a dive into like your previous releases and stuff like that, just to get myself up to speed. And the last album, Negotium. Thank you.
Nobody can pronounce it.
But that's like, it's a bit more lo-fi, that one. And it's good for it because it's like, I always say with people with, especially early black metal, like your early Dark Throne and stuff, the production was almost like another instrument. It gave it that frosty kind of feel, you know, that lo-fi sort of thing. So I do really appreciate that. And I would say like your sound to me sounds the truest of a lot of the British black metal artists that I've heard, you know, because there's black metal these days, I don't know if you'd agree, but it's got so many different types of black metal now. It's like, so your sound seems to be taking it back to your Immortals and Emperors and things like that. Is that the intention?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And especially with that album, we wanted to rein it back, didn't we? Just to become a little bit rawer with it. We've said it all along. We've always been, you know, we proudly wear our influences on our sleeves. Like, we are big fans of the second wave of black metal.
Absolutely.
And even, you know, first wave as well. Like, so yeah, we'll happily put that into our music. But I think we do also take elements from other genres and bring that in and just kind of add that to the mixing pot.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of gives us that slightly more distinct sound.
I would say, like, not just black metal, but metal as a whole at the moment is in rude health. I mean, there's some, I've noticed this year in particular, and I've touched on this in an interview I did previously with the Ocean Collective about how lockdown meant that bands could like work a little harder on their music and like a little more intensively. And what you're getting is a knockback from that. It's a lot of really interesting music coming out this year. It's fantastic for that.
I think it allowed people to be a bit more experimental in that period because you couldn't play shows.
Yeah.
So whereas like bands that are playing shows all the time, that kind of interrupts the writing process.
Sure.
Because you're just then on the road and they don't get a time to sit down and write an album. Whereas you had like a year and a half of doing nothing.
Yeah.
So they just went, you know what, let's just make an album. And then, so they became more experimental and more productive.
Absolutely.
It was good for a lot of music because everybody's faces were, you know, focused on the internet. So it was like, release music, and
that was it.
And the great thing about that is we were going to wait, hold off. But because we didn't really, or nobody knew what was going on at the time, you know, this was like March when the pandemic hit. We got to about May and it was just like, you know what, let's just put it out. Yeah. Because what's the point of waiting until November? This might not be over.
Absolutely.
Or, you know, so we just, exactly. So we just put it out and it just flew from there. So perfect timing. Captive audience, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think beginning of 2021, it was like, oh, cool, I've got time to write some music. And then getting into 2022, it was just like, right, I've written all my music. Everyone was jonesing to go out gigging.
Yeah, everywhere. Wanted to go to gigs or play gigs. Or,
absolutely.
You notice the difference, how people are still quite, like, as soon as gigs came back, everyone was starved and they, you know, you could see that people had missed it. But it's still, that energy's still there. And that's nice to see. Like, it hasn't dwindled off. Like, the attendances haven't dropped. It's like everyone's still really fierce and happy that gigs are happening.
I've noticed, like a lot of people, it might have been, even now, they're only just venturing out, and when they do, you do see them having just the most amazing time, because it's like, I've forgotten how much I love this, you know? Yeah. And another kickback might be as well, because people have been in lockdown looking for new things to listen to. You might have some new fans who maybe weren't listening to black metal before then, who've gone on a deep dive on their Spotify or whatever, and found a load of bands. I know I do it when when I've got nothing to do, I'll just like you know, they do that, if you like this, you'll like this. I just go on a rabbit hole on that, see where it takes me.
A perfect example of that is last night. The guy that put us on, he had a hand help, you know, guy helping him out throughout the night, and he came up afterwards and he was like, I'm into my doing metal. He's like, I don't, you know, he's like, I like some black metal, but I don't really like just pure blasting black metal. And he was like, you guys have got something different. He said, you've got the groove, you've got the, you know, the riffs, the catchy riffs. You've got the blast, and then you drop it, and then it's like into a breakdown of some kind.
Proper dynamic.
And he said it just really works and won me over. And it's like, well, that's cool. That's kind of what you want, because we appeal to the punk kids, the hardcore kids, the metal kids, the death metal kids, the black metal kids.
Sure.
That's what you want. You want all of them, because at the end of the day, it's all under one banner. It's metal at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter.
So, changing tact a little bit, the last time your band was mentioned on our show was in the presence of the great Jazz Coleman, and we gave him some of your tea.
That's so cool.
Infernal Tea. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, so we haven't got any at the moment,
No?
but because unfortunately due to Brexit, the person that does it for us is actually encountering supply issues and stuff,
Right,
which is
of course.
unfortunate. But yeah, I've told her about the concept for the new album, and she's just like,
Working on a new one.
We'll work on this. So she's going to make it happen. So there will be some new stuff coming soon.
Awesome. Well, I got it on good response that it was all very appreciated.
Nice.
So,
He seemed happy. I watched the video. Yeah, it's great. And
I think he had the Infernal Damnation.
nice.
That one.
Yeah.
I think that was the one.
When they said Jazz was doing it, I was like, that's sick.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the cool things about like what we're doing is like we can like give the smaller manufacturers, and even better if a band does their own, which at the moment, are you even a black metal band or a heavy metal band if you don't have a food product? Because it seems like they're all doing it.
Hot sauce coffee.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, like we had the Ocean Collective on, they've got their own hot sauce. And those damn crows, they've got coffee and hot sauce. It's just like...
It's good to think out of the box, isn't it? And
Yes.
do some quirky little merch. Because the great thing about metalheads, they buy a lot of stuff.
Oh,
They're
absolutely.
collectors.
Yes,
So
completists.
we're all hoarders, aren't we? Like,
Yeah.
It's like a guy last night was saying, I love both of your records. He was like, I haven't got any storage. I was like, yes, you have. We can always squeeze more records in. And he was like, no, mate, I haven't got any room. And I was like, it's fine, just buy them. So we brought them. And then he went, well, I might get a t-shirt. He's like, but I've got 450. And I was like, what's one more?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll buy them.
Oh, absolutely.
Good salesman.
That was great. I was just
I can feel someone smiling in the corner over there about my t-shirt supply. Because it is just like one in, one out at the moment.
we're all guilty of it. We just all keep buying merch. Like,
Oh, absolutely. I'll be getting one of yours later as well. So that's another one out.
good.
One from last year's collection. And welcome back to Foodinati, and as you can see, the spread has arrived. And we have two guest sauces we're going to be checking out today. One not so much of a guest, that's mine. It's our sauce. You know the Foodinati sauce, available from our Etsy shop. And also, brand new, this is hot off the press. Balefire has brought us their Riders on the Storm Mole. So we'll be checking that out too. But there we go. So dig in. So like when you're touring around, have you you've toured extensively, haven't you? You must have come across some weird and wonderful food on your travels, surely?
It's normally all right in Europe. You get different things.
Yeah.
Because we stayed with a friend and they'd cook us.
Oh, that's always
a lot
good.
of stuff that's a little bit more traditional to where they are. But we did have some strange boiled cabbage in Holland.
Oh yeah. I love that stuff.
Yeah. But no, we tried to play it safe.
Yeah.
Because I'll be frank, like if you're on tour, the last thing you want is food poisoning and the shits. So
Yes.
you want to try and play it safe and stick to some food that you kind of know that's not going to destroy you. Because you're in trouble.
Yeah, I have to admit, when I've been touring around with my stuff, it's like I do try and eat like what the locals are having.
Yeah.
I said that in Russia and they took me through a McDonald's.
Oh really?
And it was just the same as our McDonald's. So. But apparently that's what all the locals were having. So yeah. So are you up for any festivals this summer? Is there anything you can say? Not.
Well, it's not. We haven't got anything yet, have we? No. Well, we've got like Doom Lines. We're playing Doom Lines in Sheffield.
Cool. There's some really cool underground extreme festivals happening, isn't there? I noticed there's up in Scotland. There was one just announced this week. I think it's called Cult or something.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, there's a few. Like there's the lads in Party Cannon seem to be popping up at quite a lot of them.
Yeah, they're getting along, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, we had them on the show not long ago. That was great fun. So, is there anything like? So you said there's another single to come.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that coming in quick succession then? Are they?
So it should be out. I think that will come probably end of April, May. So we'll have that one soon. And then we'll look at doing some more.
Awesome.
So there will be some more new music, and then obviously an album is ready to go.
Awesome.
Will be coming at some point.
Brilliant.
So but you're obviously at the beckon of labels and stuff. So
Absolutely, I know that.
not sure when that will be yet, but yeah,
Brilliant.
It's ready. The UK scene's really good.
Yeah.
It's really, really good within black metal. I mean, Necronautical are really good. Burial, Sidious, Backlash, obviously.
Yeah.
Wolf Bastard. There's Abduction.
There's Winter
There's so
Phillip
many
as well.
Winter Phillip,
Yeah.
there's tons.
Yeah, there is.
There's more and more popping up all the time, and it's there's some good quality stuff.
Yeah.
So anybody that's interested, just do a deep dive because
Absolutely.
there's something out there for everybody, isn't there? There's an Incan Saga as well from the Liverpool area, and everybody's different.
Yeah.
And I've said this before in interviews, like I don't feel like there's any UK black metal bands that are the same. We
No.
all have something very, very different about us that makes
Yeah.
us unique. Like we don't sound like Necronautical. You know? Like for example, Sidious don't sound like Winter Phillip. Like everybody's got their little
Yeah,
niche
absolutely.
style to them, which is really good.
I think as well, it depends on whereabouts geographically you're from in the UK as well, because I know like Winter Phillip sound like where they're from.
Yeah.
They sound vast and sprawling like the countryside. And I've noticed some of the Scottish bands are a bit more like almost medievalish, like dark,
Yeah.
But it's like I was having this conversation about how the Bradford sound. When a band's from Bradford, like My Dying Bride or Paradise Lost or New Model Army, even you can hear the Bradford in it.
Yeah.
I think geographically, that matters quite a bit.
I think it does. I think it seems to be the more south you go in the country, the more aggressive everything becomes because everyone's just pissed off of living in the city.
Yeah, true
and
that.
As you go north, where there's more landscape, and you get up further into Scotland and stuff, where, like you say, it is very whimsical, but it's very
Vast.
you know what I mean? But like very vast and ethereal.
Yeah.
Whimsical is not a very good black metal term. It's whimsical black metal.
Whimsical black metal. I'd pay to see that.
I coined that. That's copyrighted. But yeah, it's just like you say, they use more of their surroundings into their music. But if you get further south, you just say London bands. They're just sick of people, don't they? So it's more misanthropic.
Yeah. I mean, I always find with black metal, because the black metal can be a conundrum in itself, because some areas of black metal, there's lots of rules, and it's cults and it's underground. You must sound like, and then it's the most on the flip side, it's the most open-minded sort of music.
Yeah.
When you're going off into shoegaze territory and experimental stuff like Death Heaven or whatever, I don't know if they still class as black metal. They certainly did when they started out. And Wolves in the Throne Room and stuff like that. So there's such broad, appeal to black metal.
That's what makes the genre exciting, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so experimental.
You can literally do anything. You could be a full-on sort of like trad style black metal band like Midnight.
Yeah.
Or you could be a full-on sort of one-man band like Zasper, and Leviathan and stuff like that, where it's like really sort of raw and primitive and nasty. And I think that's great. And like you say, you can be Death Heaven, which has black metal elements, but it's gone very kind of indie-esque.
Yeah, it's shoegaze. Yeah, it's like spiritualized.
But it still all falls within the banner of black metal, because I think it's fundamentally about the it's just about the individual and like the message, I suppose, isn't it?
So, on that thought, on that notion, we're gonna let the guys trough here. The sources, of course. Well, edit that bit, won't we, Alex? Right. Tell you what, let's have a go on our sauce.
Yeah, all right.
So, give that a crack on your chips. So I'll pass it down that end. And if you guys fancy something Mexican, we have the mole. This is made with a brewery called Black Storm.
So do you do different sauces, or was this just a...
That's our first one. We've got another one in the works, which is going to be more towards barbecue. That's ostensibly a jerk that we've kind of ramped up the amount of Scotch bonnet in it, put in pineapple and pink grapefruit and molasses. And I've worked with Dan Reed at Chilli of the Valley, big up Dan Reed, on that one. And yes, really happy with the response we've had so far. So
That's really nice.
it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah. It's not really that spicy either. I mean,
Is that the mole, yeah?
That's lovely, yeah.
Yeah, this is wonderful. This is just out this week, Mexican mole. Yeah. I was really taken away
What is that one?
with that.
What's in that?
What's in it? There's craft beer in there.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of Mexican influence in that one. I'm actually interviewing the guy that made that this week, and we're going for a look around his factory. And I'll find out some more info on that when we do. We just thought we'd preview it today. Yeah, it's beautiful. It is really nice, isn't it? So that's my tip for the top this year, actually. If you're into your Mexicans. Yeah, it's fantastic. Oh, again, Scotch bonnet. So there we are.
I don't think I've ever had a Scotch bonnet.
Oh, and there's sweet potato in there as well.
It would destroy you, wouldn't it?
Anyway, that bottle of Foodinati sauce is for your tour bus.
Oh,
Tour bus. Split van. Tour. But yes, you get that to take away with you.
Thank you.
So, on that note, we're done here with Infernal Sea. Watch out for their new album coming soon, Apostles of Gehenna. That's out right now. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Join us next week for a mental health awareness special as we see out Mental Health Awareness Month of May. We will be interviewing Dr. Kate Quinn of Heavy Metal Therapy, and we will also be interviewing Graphic Nature to discuss their latest album and their recent tour. Keep it locked.